Nuclear energy. We've all used it among the other sources of nuclear power and other powers. But nuclear is not just our past and present, it's our future. My name is Valerie Lawdensky, and I'm looking for the best ways to store the waste that's produced when nuclear energy is created. Contrary to what The Simpsons would have you believe, nuclear power is very safe due to the thorough analysis that we have to take on it. And right now, one of the biggest problems we face is with how hot the nuclear waste gets. When nuclear fuel is burned in a reactor, it gets so hot that it's more than anything we'll ever experience in our lives, unless that's the end of our lives. Now, reactors are cooled specifically to handle this heat output, but most storage materials can't withstand that much heat without melting. So, in order to accommodate that, a lot of times, the best thing we can do is try to calculate how much heat that gives off, but that's not entirely accurate because of a lot of small factors in the real world that we can't take into consideration. Now, if any of you have ever been in a large winter coat in a nice warm building for a long time, you probably have an idea of how a spent nuclear fuel canister feels. Not only are you both generating heat, but you're also wrapped in an insulator, which keeps that heat inside. You can take off that winter coat as soon as you feel too hot, but the spent nuclear fuel can't tell us when it's getting too hot, and we can't just take it out of the canister that's holding it. So the Swedish facility, CLAB, is learning more about their spent nuclear fuel through the process of experimental calorimetry, where they take a fuel assembly like this one on your far left, and they put it in a large calorimetry tank inside of a large pool of water like this one. They can then measure the temperature of that water, and they can use calorimetry to determine the temperature of the fuel. But in doing so, we are able to determine a lot better what's going on. Now, this graph here shows the temperature distribution of a fuel assembly inside of a calorimeter, which is based on the results from my computer model. The one up here is from about 24 hours before this one, and the heat generation is causing this peak here. It may not look like a big difference in temperature, but that's because it's using a temperature closer to what you're feeling right now, room temperature, but the fuel and water will be much, much hotter. With the advances that we can get from experimental calorimetry, we'll be able to produce clean and inexpensive nuclear power that we know is safe throughout its lifetime for generations to come. Thank you.